A shocking twist has rocked South Carolina after a teenage love triangle spiraled into tragedy, and a murder case that could change how the nation prosecutes youth crime. 16-year-old Trey Wright was found dead after a violent confrontation that police say began as a dispute over a girl. 17-year-old Devin Raper is accused of pulling the trigger, but in a stunning move, prosecutors have charged 8 other teenagers with murder, even though none of them fired a weapon. All 9 teens are being prosecuted under the controversial hands of old law. The principle allows every participant in a crime to be held equally responsible, even if only one person committed the deadly act. It's a rarely used approach in murder cases, especially those involving minors, and it's raising serious questions about fairness, accountability, and intent. The fatal encounter was caught on video, showing a group of teens arguing before shots rang out. Some stood by, others filmed, and no one called for help until it was too late. Prosecutors say that silence and inaction make them all complicit in Wright's death. In court filings, the state argues a group came together, provoked the fight, and failed to stop the violence. They acted as one unit, a prosecutor said. When one pulled the trigger, they all pulled the trigger. If convicted as adults, the teens could face decades in prison, possibly life sentences with parole. Defense attorneys insist that's unjust. They argue most of the teens had no idea a gun was even present. These are frightened kids, not hardened criminals, one lawyer said. Their biggest mistake was being there. Before deciding whether to try them as adults, the court ordered psychological evaluations, known as pre-waiver assessments, to determine emotional maturity and capacity for rehabilitation. If the court keeps the case in juvenile court, the maximum sentence will be detention until age 21. But if transferred to adult court, each faces the same penalties as the alleged shooter. The difference could determine whether these teens spend a few years in rehabilitation or most of their life behind bars. Attorney Tyler Bailey, a South Carolina criminal lawyer, says the case highlights a deeper issue. What's so disturbing, Bailey said, is how violence among teens has become entertainment. They record it. They post it. They don't intervene. It's as if they don't realize how real this is until it's too late. Bailey believes prosecutors are also under public pressure to make an example out of the group. The community has been outraged by a series of youth-related violent crimes, and authorities want to send a message. No one walks free when a child dies. Still, critics warn that trying teens as adults can destroy futures that might have been saved through rehabilitation. They are still developing, Bailey explained. We're talking about 16 and 17-year-olds. Their brains aren't done forming. That matters when we talk about responsibility and intent. The debate over the hands of all doctrine has only intensified. Supporters say it ensures justice for victims and detains youth gangs. Opponents call it guilt by association, arguing it punishes kids for simply being present. Legal experts say the outcome of this case could set a powerful precedent nationwide. If South Carolina successfully convicts all 9 teens under the doctrine, prosecutors in other states might follow suit, especially in cases involving group violence or social media-driven fights. If one defendant is found not guilty, however, it could unravel the prosecution's collective argument and lead to lesser charges or plea deals for the others. Every verdict will ripple across the entire group. The case has become more than a courtroom battle. It's a reflection of America's growing unease with juvenile crime, peer influence, and social media culture. Prosecutors claim the teens' online messages and videos show signs of planning, taunting, and escalating the fight. Defense lawyers say it was chaos, not premeditation. For the Wright family, none of that changes their loss. They say Trey was a bright, kind young man who got caught in a dangerous rivalry that went too far. We just want justice for our son, a relative said tearfully. Meanwhile, the parents of the accused teens are pleading for compassion. They say their children made a tragic mistake, but they are not killers. One bad decision shouldn't erase a whole life, one mother said outside court. The tragedy has also reignited debate over how social media fuels teenage violence. Prosecutors point to the fact that multiple phones recorded the shooting. They were more concerned with getting views and saving a life, Bailey noted. That's the world we live in, and it's terrifying. As the legal fight continues, one thing is certain. This case is forcing hard questions about justice, accountability, and mercy. Should teens who didn't pull the trigger face life behind bars? Or should the law distinguish between those who act and those who stand by? South Carolina is now at the center of a national conversation about youth violence and the future of juvenile justice. What began as a teenage love triangle has turned into a defining moment for the courts, and a tragedy that will haunt families in the community for years to come. No matter the verdict, the outcome will shape how America decides the fate of its youngest offenders, and how far the law will go when innocence, influence, and tragedy collide.